Welcome to the Thinking Legal podcast with me, David Kerner. This is a podcast about the human and psychological aspects of the legal sector. I run The Marketing Legal, a legal marketing agency, and you can find us at www.themarketinglegal.com. I hope you enjoy the show. I'm joined today by Tim Scott, who's head of product strategy and design at Frogslayer, which is a Texas-based custom software development company. And as you're based in Texas, howdy, Tim. Thanks for joining. Great. So I think first of all, it'd be great if you could explain Frogslayer and what you guys do, and also a bit about your role there.
Certainly. Well, howdy, David. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's great to be talking with you today. Yeah, so Frogslayer, right? I'll talk about a bit about Frogslayer, and then I'll talk about what I do here. But we're a Texas-based software technology consultancy, and really our niche is integrating strategy, design, the software engineering pieces, and we try to help traditional businesses, like law firms to thrive in a modern digital business. And there's tons of digital disruption happening out there. Companies may not always have the in-house capabilities to take advantage of that. And really, our work is to help them surpass their expectations of the users, their customers, and the business. Um, and some examples are client portals, legal matter collaboration, attorney and legal ops workflow automation, tons of stuff. It's just a really neat field. And my role here is as head of product strategy and design. It's really around aligning how can we understand what the business needs are and the business goals are, and the individual needs of users, how we can join them together in a strategy that helps everyone achieve those goals. Because if you have a great product that no one wants to use, that's a failure. You can have a product that people love, but if it's not a business success, it's not going to live as well. So that's really the kind of the nexus where I like to sit.
Great. And obviously, you mentioned a few examples from the legal industry. Maybe you could expand on kind of what kind of experience Frogslayer has in the legal sector.
Sure. In the legal sector, we've done a number of things. We've worked on a legal collaboration platform with tons of integration into different other legal tech products. We've also worked on some anti-money laundering efforts, a tool to mine existing data and flag things that need to be looked at. Also, some other automation, in-house automation tools to help lawyers and attorneys with their, helping them get the workflow, get through pieces of their work quickly, more efficient, and make it easy on them. So it's a handful of things. And we're not just in legal tech. We've done quite a few things all over the different sectors. But I think legal tech has been an interesting area.
Excellent. So, as this kind of podcast deals with the more human aspects of the legal sector and law, I guess we can go back to first principles and talk about what are the kind of basic human-centered principles of UX.
Oh, I love this. I think if you had to put it down to one thing, it's that UX is about people, right? And it's not the technology or the engineering or all the infrastructure behind it. It's about giving people what they need and understanding that, their behaviors, their needs, their preferences. Steven Anderson built a model that I really like. I think it's from 2002, but he calls it the experience hierarchy of needs model. And imagine a pyramid, right? And at the bottom we have functional, right? You need something that's functional, and if it's not functional, it can't do anything at all, right? So, but a lot of technology forgets that piece. It's got to do something useful. And the building on top of that, it's reliable, right? Is it something that's there when I need it? Building on top of that is it usable? Can I actually get in there and use it without difficulty? And then build on top of that, can something be convenient? Does it work like I work? Or do I have to shift my mindset? Do we have to shift the business to match the technology? And that's bad when that happens. And the building on top of that, can something be pleasurable, right? Can an app or a technology be something that I actually like to use? And if it's something I like to use as part of my job, wow, that's amazing. That's rare, but you want to get to that point. At the very pinnacle, there's is something meaningful, right? Is there an experience that has some personal significance? Does that happen in business-oriented apps? Maybe not often, but when you can get there, it's amazing. So that's kind of the model that I like to look at when I think of how to design for people.
Excellent. And when you are designing for people, kind of what are the kind of processes that you go through?
Yeah, so there's a few. We first of all is to get to know our users, and we might do field studies where we'll hop out in there and watch them do what they're doing in their day-to-day work. If it's an attorney, that's pretty simple. If it's a an inspector who's inspecting a piece of equipment in a hot Texas summer, that we also do that too. But it's important to realize that those are the folks using the tools, and that's the environment they're going to be using then. So if they can work all year throughout that, we can handle a day and understand what their life is like. And it's about getting in their mindset and understanding their needs and everything. We'll also do interviews. Hop on a call like this and talk to folks and say, hey, what do tell me about your day-to-day life. What's working well? What isn't? Where does technology get in the way? What needs do you have? And of course, surveys are a useful tool. And then we want to map that all out. We'll create a journey map that says from end to end today, right? Before we deploy any kind of digital solution or even imagine a digital solution, what are they going through from end to end? And we identify those pain points along the way because that's kind of the foundation so that when we design the solution we want to give them, we'll map that out as well and see how those kind of correspond.
Excellent. And I guess kind of moving the conversation on to kind of attorneys. So let's start off pretty broad. What makes great UX for attorneys?
Oh, I love this one. So we were in one of my interviews. I was talking to an attorney and about a problem that we were trying to solve for her and for her in-house group. And she said, if it requires training, it's dead on arrival. Billable hours and productive hours are extremely important. So if someone had to spend a week-long class to get up to speed on how to use a piece of software, they weren't interested. So it's got to be something they can dive in and use immediately. So I mean that goes back to our pyramid, right? It's not just does it functional, does it do the things I want, but is it convenient? Does it work the way I'm expecting? So it helps encourage adoption. And then of course it's got to be a tool that conveys trust and confidence and security. Folks aren't going to want to use a tool if they're not sure that they can rely upon it and that it satisfies the security needs of their firm and of their clients. So there's a whole spectrum of things to look at.
And you mentioned kind of trust and security. Kind of lawyers are pretty skeptical people. How do you kind of build those features into kind of the UX of an application?
So our engineering department has a saying that we do security by design. So that means from day one of how we design the product, our engineers and security folks are thinking and designing around how to build security into that. The same thing applies to UX design, to product design, to visual design. It's how do you convey the information about what's happening under the hood to keep data secure in a way that people can understand it and feel comfortable with it, but it doesn't get in their way, right? It's like if you've ever logged into an application that makes you go through about 10 different steps just to get logged in, that might be a little bit too far on showing you how secure it is. On the other hand, if you hop in somewhere and you say, wait a minute, I don't think I logged in and there's data I'm not expecting to see. Are they really securing it? So it's kind of you've got to find that right middle ground.
How's the legal tech market kind of meeting the needs of attorneys right now?
For sure, yeah. So when I kind of started looking at things, I think it was probably 5 years ago. The legal tech market, was said to be around, I think it's 2 billion per a year. And today, I think Gartner said the legal tech market will reach 50 billion in value by 2027. Now, are those comparable numbers? I might be looking at different pieces, not sure, but for sure the tech market is increasing. Now, if uh, that the tools that folks are building aren't oriented around making sure they're usable by lawyers and everyone else is going to be using them, growth is going to be stymied. You're going to have tools that drop off in adoption, right? They may see a spike as people use them, say, "Oh, this sounds great. Let me try it out. I'll stop using it. It drops by the wayside." So I think companies developing legal tech would be good to consider usability along with the business goals early on. Um, I would love to do a survey of all of the current legal tech products out there and see how are they rated in usability and how are people adopting them and how they think about it. I think that'd be very interesting.
Right, especially that with the amount of kind of AI tools that are coming out and all sorts of like e-discovery things. I was reading something that you wrote about kind of the pandemic's effect on kind of the adoption of legal tech. So maybe you could talk a bit about that and how you think kind of the events of 4 years ago have really kind of accelerated the industry.
Yes. So yeah, 4 years ago, when everyone went home and perhaps didn't come back for quite a number of months or even years, depending upon where they were, it forced everyone to maybe dust off some technology that they hadn't been using all the time and use it for real work. And along the way, I think it was definitely a catalyst for um, finding out that folks could use these tools. It kind of got people over the hump of it may not be convenient, but now I have to use it, so I'm going to start using it. And it put a lot of eyes and attention on a bunch of tools, which in turn help the folks working on those products make them better. I think the good example is Zoom, right? We all saw Zoom's numbers and adoptions just skyrocket, and their stock skyrocketed as well because they had just a huge influx of users. Microsoft Teams, same thing. So just everyone, for needing to hop into these tools, uh, that drove innovation. You had lots of customers using them. So same thing in the legal tech space. You can't go walk down the hall and ask the crowd of associates what's going on. You've got to Slack them or send them a Teams message and say, hey, what's the latest on this matter, and then find better ways of organizing work. The and I think on the speaking of organizing work, there's kind of a bad side to this, and it was by default, email was kind of the electronic tool that folks had for managing work, um, and folks would be getting. We were talking to people, and they said, "I'll get anywhere from 100 to 1,000 emails a day."
Oh, it's horrific,
And
yes.
yeah, and how do you work with that? Where is that one important email that if you forget to reply to it by end of business, you're not just you're in hot water, but your firm's in hot water. So just because email was an electronic tool didn't mean it was anything other than perhaps functional.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
so you saw people looking for other solutions to help orient their work around the unit of work and not where the information is.
Absolutely. Email is kind of the bane of any office worker's existence, really, isn't it? And kind of having worked in a law firm kind of marketing team, I know that kind of they're constantly looking for better solutions, and I don't know. I mean, can you kind of provide kind of examples of kind of effective solutions, kind of in terms of like human-centered UX that you're aware of or you've worked on.
Yeah, yeah. So I won't name any particular products, but I think the ones that are successful again start with the human factor. It's a matter of what is the work that this person is trying to accomplish? What are their goals? And starting with that first. And it's just bonkers how often that step is skipped, right? People
Right.
say, "Hey, we have this amazing technology. Hey, we have this data. Hey, we have Gen AI. Let's throw that all in a box in a product and put it in front of people, and they'll use it and subscribe to it because it does this cool thing." Well, if you don't start with the step of what do they need out of it and what do they not need, it's hard to do all these other things. So that's secret sauce step number one right there. The other one would be as you design around those factors, you still want to test it, and say, hey, we heard you, we listened to what your needs are. What could you, as we design what we think might work, put it back in front of them in the form of a mock-up or a prototype or a scribble on a whiteboard and say, this is how we see this shaking out. Does this seem useful to you at all? or even better, put a prototype in front of it and have them use it and see if they can use it, because that's that's where the proof is. And then go back and adjust your designs, because you don't want to be finding out that there's a glitch or a road bump in your product when you've designed it and built it and coded it and launched it, and now you're 8 months down the road, and making a change means you have to go all the way back to the beginning. Well, not all the way back to the beginning, but you have to do some redesign. So test early and often, validate early and often, get in front of your users, and get their feedback.
Yeah. I know that kind of at the beginning you said that you've kind of worked on kind of in-house products as well. Is there kind of a difference between kind of developing an in-house application versus an application kind of by an external provider?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So for apps or websites or portals that external folks are going to use, that customers or clients are going to use, it's much easier to for stakeholders to want to spend time and budget and effort on a good experience, because law firms want their clients to have a good experience, of course. So it's easy to say, well, we need to make this a good experience for them. It's a bit tougher, and this isn't just for law firms, but across many industries. If you're building an in-house tool, often the baseline is it functional? Is it reliable? And hey, we know this is tough to use, but we all need to use it anyway. So often it's adoption by enforcement, not adoption by, hey, I want to use this, because it's harder to make the value sell of spending time and effort on the UX piece, which is unfortunate, because if you do spend time on those pieces, it can improve adoption. It can reduce costs down the road. It can make folks more efficient and more accurate and reduce the amount of errors. And it pays itself back. So often the idea is it's thought of, if it's got good UX, it looks good. Well, it might look good, but going back to our hierarchy of principles, there is it usable and convenient and pleasurable. And I say in-house tools should be all of those, because some people spend more time at work than they do outside of work. So what can we do to make that just a bit pleasurable, because that's going to pay itself back in their commitment.
Yeah, I mean, even from a simple workforce management point of view, a very cold point of view, it makes sense to design things properly. Um, so we've touched on this slightly, but kind of law is quite a should we say conservative sector, and law firms in general are very kind of hesitant to adopt new technologies, although sometimes they're leading the march. But on the whole, they're quite hesitant, and to roll new technologies out in law firms. What are some of the strategies that UX designers can use to kind of overcome the resistance from more traditional law firms when implementing new technologies?
Yeah. What I've found helps out is to approach it from, and this is contrary to what I just said, but it's a bit of a submarine. But start out with, we want to make sure that this is functional. It works the way people work, that it can help them be efficient. That it's not that we want to help people not make errors. So we factor it more in, like you said, kind of the cold business side of things. Now, a side effect of that is, we are going to design it for the way they think and the way they feel and the way they want to use things. So there are going to be the more human and emotional sides of the design that come from it, but it's really about pitching it towards the business aspects, and that's where a good product strategy, combines those two in a good way. So I'd say the other way we can approach it from to help more traditional law firms is, uh, get the right people on board. Almost, I think every firm has some kind of innovation practice area that sits out and has grand ideas that turn into amazing things, right? Get them on board. They've worked within the politics, and they know ways to help move things along. And then second, get, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but get the users involved, right? it's easier to sell on a product if you have a lot of important folks saying, "Hey, I want to use this. This will make my life better, and it's designed well, and I like it." So yeah, I think those are some of the things that I've seen work.
I think you've mentioned this in our kind of previous chat that kind of law is pretty similar to other professional services that you've worked with. Are there any ways that you found that it's different, or are there any kind of specificities to the legal sector that you find challenging or interesting or worthy of note?
Sure. Yeah, like many, like you said, there's tons of similarities, but as far as differences, I think what I found what I found surprising, but I shouldn't have. What I found surprising is how passionate so many lawyers were about the particular area of work that they're in. And it's not a not a 9 to 5 job, right? It's
Not at all.
not at all. And it's often not a 9 to 5 job, not just because of the demands of the matter or their client or the business, but because they actually truly loved it and enjoyed the law and had we're trying to innovate in directions that they felt personally and emotionally invested in. And again, that shouldn't be a surprise because I think that's true across a lot of industries. But it was neat. It was neat to see neat to see in law. Um, I think there's one interesting observation. So we spent time interviewing lawyers in a bunch of different specializations. Um, and many of them were very it was very driven. There was a lot of demands on their time. They had to get things quickly, and that's why we wanted to understand what we could build for them to speed up their workflows. But for some reason, and I don't understand, and I haven't dug into this, but it seemed like folks working in real estate law were like the chillest of the bunch. Like we'd hop on a Zoom call and they'd just be happy to chat. There wasn't anything beating down their door for anything that happened to need to turn around. So that was a bit surprising. I don't know if that was just the time of year or how the industry was, but yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when I spent time kind of researching the legal sector, you do notice that. I mean, this is a global phenomenon that different specialities attract different personality types, and it's very noticeable. You don't want to get on the wrong side of a litigator, for instance.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's a really kind of interesting kind of feature of the legal industry. Um, all right, great. Thank you for joining me, Tim. That was a really kind of interesting conversation. If people want to kind of get in touch, how can they reach you?
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn, just Tim Scott. I was lucky enough to hop on early enough to get the alias. Of course, you can hop on our website, frogslayer.com, and look under thought leadership. There's a number of blog articles, not just by me, but of course by a bunch of talented folks here at Frogslayer, about all aspects of digital innovation, not just legal tech, not just product design and UX, but all over the space. So I think there's some pretty neat stuff on there. I'm proud of what we've been able to put out.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks, David. Appreciate it. Have a great day.